tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Yes. Okay. I'm Kamara. It's with an R, like
Mhm.
Karma, but you can call me Karma. A lot of people call me Karma. Um, I am 26. I'm a mom. I moved here to Mexico about a year and a half with my partner, who's 25, and it's been great so far. I'm a travel agent. I love to travel. I've been to like 30 out of the 50 states. I've been to Mexico and Canada. So I'm working on branching out of North America completely and seeing some new things because I've seen a lot of what North America has to offer. And really, there's not much difference between the three countries. Yeah.
You went up. Did you start in Canada or Mexico? And
I
then
went to
you back.
I went to Canada first. I didn't live in Canada. I visited Canada. I lived in New York at the time, and it was about a 45-ish minute drive from Canada.
Okay. Okay. And so you got that experience. And then what made you decide that Mexico was the first place you wanted to try out while you were living in America?
So America was the reason. um, I moved around a lot in America. I've been moving since I was 5 years old. My parents were in the military, and then they eventually split from each other. So I've just kind of been back and forth all over the place as it is since my childhood. And then when I turned 18, I spent majority of my childhood in California. Um, so when I turned 18, I was in California. I ended up following my ex-husband at the time, he was my husband, to New York. And I moved over there and traveled up and down the East Coast a lot, obviously to Canada. And I just, from after splitting with my ex, I moved a lot more, like just did a lot of moving, trying to find a place to call home. And majority of the places I didn't like them. Like it's like I was looking for every place to be San Diego, California, and there's only one San Diego, California. So so when I was in Texas, which is very similar to San Diego but has a lot of major differences, I was like, you know what? At one point, I was thinking about moving to TJ, which was back in 2018. I was trying to like find somewhere to live that was not my mother's house. And, you know, all these apartments, nice apartments kept popping up in TJ, but I was scared at the time because I didn't know anything about any TJ or none of that. So I did my research when I was living in Texas. And there were some Black YouTubers that were talking about living in TJ and just living in Mexico in general. Which really helped me open up more to the idea. So within 30 days of having the idea, I moved to TJ, and I have been here ever since.
Ever since, wow, you brought your family with you on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Since you moved to Tijuana, you're still close to San Diego. You're able to still go back and forth. And is that one of the positives that, can you name some of the things you like about Tijuana? And
Oh God, I okay. So I love Mexico and living here in TJ in comparison to living even in San Diego, um, which is crazy. I know it's very strong to say, but I'm so serious. I love it here more. Mainly, the culture here is different. It's a lot more family oriented. You don't have that pressure to like make your kids behave a certain way in public spaces. There's actually a lot of public spaces that accommodate children. Like one of our favorite steakhouses to go to has a play area for the kids. So the kids can like eat and then go, they know they can just go play. I've been to another restaurant with a friend where there was a little play area for the kids. So they tried to, and I like that supportiveness that they have to offer. I also like, you know, obviously it's more expensive here in Mexico than it is in these states. It's so costly to live in the United States. But the weather is beautiful. It's very similar. Well, I'm not going to say similar. Same weather. That's right across that. They just drew a line in the middle of the territory was like, this is America, that's Mexico, because it's all the same. If it's raining there, it's raining here. If it's sunny there, it's sunny here. So that was one thing I missed the most about not living in the West Coast, was not living near a beach, not having the nice weather. So I definitely get to benefit off that. And here I get luxury at an affordable price.
Right. Right. So you're able to save money, you're able to do more things.
Yes.
You want to compare to San Diego or New York where you were living.
Right, right. So I've lived in so many places, but yes, essentially I am able to do a lot more in here in Mexico than I was able, or even with the same income would be able to do currently in this economy in either of those places.
And how do you earn an income while living in TJ, if you don't mind answering that question? Just for other people out there who, they want to move and they don't know what they can do. Maybe some things you say here today can help them out.
Alrighty, so
we can do it.
Lots of ways to go about this. I personally work from home on my own business called Travel with Lopez. It's travel agency. And majority of my clients come from San Diego into Mexico. And so, I kind of introduced them. They're Black people. Actually, so far have been Black people. So I help Black people who never thought about traveling to Mexico, travel to Mexico.
This is anybody who wants to come, whether you're living in New York, you can help them out. People coming from Miami, Georgia. Okay, wow. Okay.
Yes, as long as you're a U.S. citizen, I can help plan your travels. Especially if you're already in the U.S., it's a lot easier for me. It gets a little bit more harder to do if it's like, say, a U.S. person living in Ghana. I can still service it, but I'd have to jump through a ton more hoops. I basically only service Americans living in America as far as travel, or anyone who lives out here in Mexico, because I understand, since I live here, how the system works. But I also go up to San Diego every so often, supplement my income with DoorDash. So that helps a lot. And I have a lot of other things that I'm just gifted with that people pay me for randomly. So a lot of random gigs as well. For those who would want to think about moving here, they could also get a work from home job. Like some of my friends have work from home jobs and they just stay in TJ pretty much all the time. They work from home and then, go live their daily lives. Another one of my friends is a real estate investor. So she owns her own company investing into real estate, has a nice portfolio, and it has freed herself financially so she can move wherever she wants. So that's another way that you could easily just move into Mexico. The majority of people who are Americans living here, they cross the border into San Diego daily to go to work.
Okay, so that's benefit for anybody coming from other parts. So they're coming from Mazatlán, Puerto Vallarta. You can't do that. They have to actually be retired or have a job online. But in Tijuana, a lot of people, you can just cross the border every day or every day, however many times, and you can make income and bring that income back to Tijuana.
Yes.
Okay. And how many days do you cross the border doing DoorDash, or you feel like you cross the border in general?
So I cross 3 to 4 times a week, but mostly because I started working out. Like I went on a weight loss journey. I'm on it now. And so I crossed to go use the gym. It's just generally cheaper for me to have a gym membership in America versus Mexico. Not necessarily that the price of the membership is cheaper, but access. I share my car right now with my partner who uses it every day to go to work. So that helps as well. My partner is a commuter into San Diego that goes to work every single day. So he's there 5 days a week. I'm there sometimes 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay. So how does he like that process, crossing the border? Is that I know it's pros to it, but what are the cons as far as the time it could take? Is that varies different days, different times as far as that crossing the border?
Okay, so right now he's at odds with it, mainly because he applied for global entry, but he's waiting on his conditional approval. So when you don't have a global entry pass, it does take hours sometimes to cross the border. And it depends on the lane that you use. There's 3 different lanes if you have a car. If you're a pedestrian, there's only 2 lanes. So if you have a car, you can end up in the general lane, which means everybody and their mom, regardless of if they're a US citizen or not, they're in that lane. And it tends to move the slowest. Then there's the ready lane, which is only for US citizens. And that lane can take 2 to 3 hours sometimes. And then there is the Century/global entry lane, which routinely takes 5 to 20 minutes to cross. If at most, if it's really bad traffic, it'll take 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, 45. That's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And from like with that, you living in Tijuana, speaking Spanish, do you know a little bit? What level are you? And do you think someone can live in Tijuana without it for 6 months to a year, or just because it's right by the border? There's people living there for 30 years and they're fine with no Spanish.
Okay, so yo puedo hablar en español más o menos, but it's not a requirement. I do have friends out here who are learning to speak now that they're here. When my partner moved here, he didn't know very much Spanish, but he's learned over time. So being here immerses you, kind of forces you a little bit to learn, but it's not necessarily a requirement. I have someone that's a member in our community. He has not tried to learn Spanish at all, but he owns 3 businesses out here and property. So it's not a requirement. He's just not, he pays the appropriate people that speak both languages that get things done for him.
Okay. What do you think, as far as you knowing Spanish for a little bit, whatever it is, do you think that helps you in your everyday life more so than someone who doesn't know much Spanish?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I probably get treated differently because I can communicate in Spanish. Not to say that Mexicans are mean people. They're actually very, my experience, they've been loving and very encouraging when I speak Spanish, even if I mess up. However, there are a lot that speak English and they're aware of the American presence here. So they will try to staff someone that speaks English, especially if it's like a doctor's office or a store or something. But it's still, more often than not, you'll run into people that speak only Spanish. However, Google Translate exists. So you can pull out your phone. Oftentimes, if they can't understand you, they will pull out their phone. And so there's going to be an understanding at the end of the day.
Okay. And since you live in Tijuana, and there's so many people from the US, San Diego, flying in to get dental work done, do you actually stay in Tijuana to get this type of stuff done, or?
So I do, for the most part. I haven't really had to go to the doctor too much, but I do have a heart condition and I do have a heart doctor here in TJ. The healthcare system, I don't have health insurance because I'm not a citizen here. So I do pay out of pocket for my expenses, but they're affordable enough to where I can pay out of pocket for my expenses. The medicine that they put me on only costs like $10 or $20 instead of hundreds, thousands.
Okay, so you feel comfortable even with a heart condition. You feel comfortable. That's great. That is great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow. And you're out there in Tijuana. What else do? You go to the gym. I know you crossed the border for that, but what type of activities specifically to Tijuana do you enjoy while you're there? Or with you and your kid and your significant other?
Okay, obviously the beach. Since we're on the coast, the beach is abundant on both sides of the border. Um, Food. We are foodies, so we have been, and we definitely went and toured a lot of the restaurants out here to figure out which ones are the good ones. We have favorite ones, and there's still so many more restaurants to try. Um, we There's like a lot of lounges, like roof. Some let me start my sentence over. There's restaurants that have lounges on their rooftops, so we have visited those as well. We've gone to spas out here. They're very nice for an affordable price. I've been to, like, I get my nails and stuff done out here. Pretty much like regular any daily living. There's a water park out here that I took my kids to that they loved. I took them to the zoo. They loved it. Um, it's We've done a lot actually. There's carnivals that kind of happen. They pop up on the side of the road, and so we take them to those little carnivals and they have fun. So there's pretty much, if you can think about it, to do it in America, it's here in Spanish.
Spanish. Okay. Okay. And do you also get to travel down to Rosarito Beach and Ensenada? Have you been
Hmm.
further south as well?
Yeah, so I actually live in Rosarito, not TJ.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
But I most people who are more people are aware of TJ than they are aware of Rosarito. It depends on who you're talking to, and TJ is the airport. There's no Rosarito airport, if that makes sense. But I have gone to Ensenada. I actually go at least once a year. Um, Ensenada has this wine country called Valle de Guadalupe. It just means Guadalupe Valley. And it's got some amazing wineries, romantic Airbnbs and stays for you to see the beautiful mountains and stuff that are out there, and then tour the wineries. It's a very romantic place. So I go out there with my partner every so often, and or we just go down to Ensenada to my favorite resort and relax. I also send clients down to that same resort for them to relax and have fun.
Okay. Okay. So with your business, can you explain from the time someone gets there, an expat or future expat comes into Tijuana, you meet them. Can you explain that process with your business?
Yeah, so for people who would be flying in, I would advise them to fly to San Diego just for monetary reasons. Why fly and pay the international price when there's the sister city right there and it's a border city? So I tell them to fly into San Diego, and then usually I will meet them in San Diego and bring them across if they pay for that service, or I will meet them at the border or at their hotel. It just depends on which service they pay for. And then generally, if it's going to be here in Rosarito where they're going to stay, then I service all their tours and everything for the area. For Ensenada, I have a few companies that I partnered with that take care of my clients when they're in Ensenada. But I will, if they need me to pick them up and drive them to Ensenada, they can pay me for that service. I'll pick them up and drive them down. If I cannot do it, I have a driver that I partnered with here in TJ that will pick them up and drive, like they're going to get to their destination. I've been building relationships this whole time so that it could be a seamless wheel.
Yes. Okay. So that's a great thing. You're just, how long have you been doing your business since you've been in Tijuana?
Okay, so I moved here before I opened my business. I started training to be a travel agent in April of 2021. And then I moved here May of 2021, and I opened my business August of 2021. And then since then, my first year was a learning process with building the new relationships and stuff with my drivers and other companies that I use to tour and whatnot. So I spent the year doing that, and then I had clients who wanted to come, so it kind of like forced me to make sure that these relationships were going to be valuable. All my clients love me, so there it's good relationships. So I've been running the company probably for since, well, August 2022 makes it a year, and now we're in January, so like a year and a few months.
Okay. So like you said, so you can run a business in Tijuana whether you speak Spanish or don't, because you're
Yeah.
doing it successfully and your friend is doing it as well.
Yeah, so okay, the person that I partnered with here in TJ, he is a Mexican national.
Oh,
So yeah, so he has like all of his I's dotted and T's crossed.
yeah, okay.
Me, my business operating out of San Diego, which is why I predominantly have people meet me in San Diego, and then I bring them myself across the border and stuff like that. Um, you have to become a resident here. So in order for me to fully transition my business into being open and ready for like Mexican travelers and stuff like that, I have to become a resident here first, which I'm working on.
Okay. And like you said, your Spanish, you're only getting better and you're able to communicate, and that's helping you out with your business and everyday life in Mexico just by you knowing more Spanish than most people that are going to come into Tijuana.
Oh yes, yes. um, Being from San Diego, California, and then part of my like lineage itself, I learned Spanish very young, like very, very young. And then I've moved around, like I said, I moved a lot. So there's been times where I didn't use it, times where I did use it, all the way leading me up to here to where now I have to lean on it and really use it.
Okay. And when you were just from the time you were thinking about, like you said, you were in Texas thinking about moving to Tijuana, to the
Mm-hmm.
time you actually got there, what was that feeling of like, I really did it? I really made a move from the United States, the place everyone seems to want to come to from all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
in the US, and you touched down in Mexico. How was that feeling for you?
It was very exciting. I still find Mexico very exciting to this day. It is such a beautiful country. Um, but I was probably most excited when we like first originally did the move, and I was still naive to like the pros and cons. Like I was aware of some of the cons, but it's different to be aware of something versus experiencing it. So I definitely was very, very excited. It was a new adventure and like a new beginning. So I felt warm. That period before moving, I was like pretty obsessed with YouTube videos of Mexico, trying to learn everything I could. And I joined Facebook groups for the area and like read posts, talked to the people who were already living here, did my research that way, just so that we could be as best prepared as we could.
Man, what would you say out of those things you did, out of the YouTube video, the people you talked to, and the Facebook groups? Out of all of those, would you say do all of them before you make the move? As well as would you want someone to, or in your opinion, would you say someone should visit first for a month, go back home, and then make that decision to move? Or would you just say go all in and try it out? But you came from San Diego, so it's a little bit different going in. But for someone else, what would you recommend?
So normally I tell people to get here and smell the air. I use that reference. Some people who already know about TJ are going to laugh because TJ is known to be stinky, but that's not what I mean when I say get here and smell the air. I mean, like, come experience for yourself because it is a huge decision to make. I think it is important to do all the things, to look up YouTube videos of people talking about the area, whether they're Black or Mexican. Join the local expat groups. We have one called Black Experience in Tijuana. So it shows what we experience from our group like view. There's other groups, but none of them have a Black center like ours does. So I would definitely say if you're Black, join that group to hear our experiences and how people go through things. There's a lot. It's a community page, so people come in all the time and they ask questions, looking for direction for like schools or what to do with kids, or how to look for housing. We have created a 5-minute guide actually that you can sign up for our emails list and you get the guide for free, and it will tell you everything to know within 5 minutes. And it's kind of like a start of a blueprint. So it's not going to tell you everything there is to know about TJ in 5 minutes. That's completely impossible. However, it will tell you all the things you need to gather together as far as your paperwork, how to have that in order, how to look for housing, what areas that most of us live in, so you know what's the safe areas, because that's a lot of people's questions. And then, it kind of just answers majority of our FAQs within the guide. So for anyone who is like me and you have to like plan something out, I'm also a little spontaneous because I did it in 30 days. However, for someone who's more than me, like very type A, they need to plan it out there. I would say do all the things, like watch everything you can, get all the information you can, because it is a big choice to make. And though I am happy here and thriving, I will say there are people who have moved here and moved back home within 6 months because they couldn't handle the differences. It is a different way of life. Though I said earlier the Americas are similar, they are all very similar, but there's still big, unique differences that make them different cultures and stuff like that. And so some people can't handle the culture shock, so they leave. So I think it's important for them to do everything, visit, and get all the information that they can.
Okay. So you feel comfortable as a woman. I know you're there with your husband, and you feel comfortable as a woman. Like you said, people think it's, you're going to get kidnapped just for breathing in Tijuana. Like you said, you feel as an individual who's actually living there,
Mm-hmm.
you feel comfortable. Your kids are out there going outside, enjoying themselves, and you're doing the same. You feel comfortable there.
Yes. So I live in a gated community, and when my kids was here, right now she's with her father, but when she was here, I would send her outside to play and not even go outside to watch her, because all the kids are outside on the street playing and there's no adults outside to watch. And it took me a minute to realize I don't have to watch her play outside because nothing is going to happen. Like, it's very safe in this community. All of the parents trust for the kids to be outside and be kids, kind of like back in the old days when kids go outside and you didn't see them till sundown. It's just like that out here. There are times where if I step out and I don't see her on my immediate street, I start to get frantic, like, oh my God, where's my kid? Where's my kid? She's probably around the corner with her friends doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. But it's very, very safe. Me and my daughter have moved around by ourselves here in Mexico on many of the occasions. Because like I said, my partner, he works up in San Diego a lot. So we've had to catch Ubers to different places or walk. And we've never had an issue ever. People have always been nice to us or even trying to help us out. Like I've had someone see me like there's a grocery store down the hill from my house, but I'm saying hill, but it's a mountain. So I've been carrying stuff that was way too heavy, and they like my neighbors will see us and give us a ride to come back up the hill because they know it's too heavy. So yeah, it's been I feel very safe. I won't say that there's no danger here. That would be very ignorant for me to say. I will say I am ignorant to the dangers here. I don't experience them. I don't listen to the local news. So I'm unaware of them unless I see it on Facebook from one of the expat community pages where someone's warning everyone about something. I can say that as far as I'll address the cartel now, because I know people who watch this are going to want to know about the cartel. That's everyone's number one question. So the cartel is probably the most organized crime system that I have ever had to live next to. And I feel safer with them than I did with the local gangbangers. Maybe because the cartel is very targeted. They don't just go do things for any reason. They operate very differently than your regular organized crime in the United States. There's not really stray bullets happening with the cartel. They do things with specific attention, especially because they own a lot of the bars and shops where we Americans go dine, and so we're pretty much always giving them money. So they're very what do I say, intentional in how they move. So when they do disrupt, they let us know that they're gonna disrupt and to stay out the way. So I think I prefer that to suddenly things are disrupted and I had no time to prepare for it.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left. You can say anything, any advice you have for future expats, anyone who may come and want to be a part of what you do there in your program. Any advice for anyone out there? Let us know. We got 5 minutes left.
Okay, so
I hope to do another one with you in the future. So
we could definitely do another interview and talk again. For anyone thinking of moving here, for sure, like I said earlier, at least visit us in the community we are organizing. It's brand new. I think it was last summer that we started the Facebook group, and then we started doing weekly events in the fall. We closed them for the holiday period. We're working on getting more organization on the back end so that things can run more smoothly in the future, and then we're going to reopen events and stuff like that. But as for now, we do have a WhatsApp group chat. If you can find me on Facebook, I am Kamara Antoinette Love, owner of Travel with Love on Facebook. Reach out to me, let me know that you're interested in moving to TJ. This WhatsApp group chat that I'm speaking of, it is our community talks group. Like right now, my phone is buzzing because people are talking in the group chat, and this is how we get fast answers to questions that we need. Because in the Facebook group, things happen a lot slower. It's also where all of our impromptu meetups happen. So like if someone wants to go to lunch, they're going to text it in the group chat, not necessarily in the Facebook page. So it would be very wise to get active in that, because you can ask all the questions and you're going to get your question answered that same day, probably sometime that same minute, depending on who's active on the phone and stuff like that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Like I said, I can't wait for the next interview. I have a lot more questions. There's a lot more, I'm sure, who want to come down there, be a part of what you have going, as well as want to move to Rosarito, Tijuana, Ensenada. So thank you again. I really appreciate it, Kamara.
Alrighty. I do want to shout my social medias out just for anyone who wants to know how to access. So on Facebook, we are BENTJ. That is the Facebook group. It stands for Black Experience in TJ, but it also spells B in TJ. So we call the group BENTJ. So look for that Facebook group, join it. You'll likely see me or the other head admin. She's the main organizer. Within the group, you can add us as Facebook friends, talk to us, and we'll answer your questions, whatnot. The other social media I wanted to shout out was Cam Travel with Love. It's my IG. It's KAM and then Travel with Love. That's where I just kind of show my travels and things like that. Travel with Love does have a Facebook page. If you find me through the BNTJ group, you'll see me post about Travel with Love. So I won't even spell that. But that's pretty much it. BNTJ also has an IG. It's @__BNTJ.
Thank you so much. I will definitely be looking forward to checking those out. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day too.